Hi, I'm Jim Berger, and I am pastor at Holy Cross Lutheran Church in Houston, Texas. This is the sermon for Christ the King Sunday, last Sunday of the church year, 11/21/21. King for a day or for eternity? People are weird on elevators. They stare at their feet. Now they stare at their phone. They stare at the floor indicator, wishing it would go faster and release them from this uncomfortable cage. Someone needs to start an elevator entertainment company. Smiles by the floor. All you need is 50 jokes or one-liners and rotate them every week. Contract with high rises and hospitals. I do it for free now. A nurse gets on the elevator all frazzled and worried, and I say, "A germ walked into a bar." Suddenly, the other riders on the elevator are looking at me incredulously. The bartender, wiping the counter, said, "Get out of here. This is a clean establishment. We don't serve bacteria." The germ says, "It's okay. I work here. I'm staff." That gets a laugh from a medical person every time. Or if you're feeling brave, you can just get everyone to sing, "You Are My Sunshine." What would Jesus say if he walked on an elevator? Go up. 2,000 years after he lived, died, and was raised from the dead, we're still asking, what would Jesus do? Is he going to be king for a day? Or king for 2 floors in a high rise? Or king for eternity? Christ the King Sunday, the last Sunday of the church year. Next Sunday is New Year's Eve Sunday. Well, the first Sunday of Advent and the church year. Kings are fascinating. A few are remembered as good. Very few. Most have been feared. The Caesars were cruel. The Tsars were violent. The Medicis were wicked. If you want job security, don't go into royalty. Historians estimate the average length of a reign at about 3 years, and that's probably pushing it, ranging from only minutes as the king to the better part of a century. The problem with being a monarch is that somebody always wants your job. And since kings don't have term limits, you'll be there for life, which might not be very long if someone's inclined to create a job opening by regicide. Poison has been used most often. Daggers and swords a sharp second. Thrones are there for the taking. Monarchs rule in fear of being deposed. In 1925, Pope Pius XI wanted people to know that this is Christ's world, not the world of the emerging dictators and leaders of the day. Mussolini had been in power 3 years. Hitler had been out of jail for 1 year, drumming up support for a new socialist party. And Pope Pius had the audacity to declare for the whole world that Jesus Christ is king, now and eternally, despite all fervent and sincere political, philosophical positions and opinions. It is simple. Our first allegiance is to Christ the King, not to a political party, not to the opinions of family, friends, and neighbors, not to the fashion consensus of the glamorously gifted, not to the shifting sands of daily, remodified truths. Our first allegiance is to Christ the King, not a king for a day, a king for eternity. Today's gospel presents Jesus as he's brought up on trial for 3 possible charges. One, that he has perverted the Jewish nation with the misinterpretations of the law and blasphemy. Number 2, that he has forbidden people to pay the taxes levied on the Jews by Caesar. Number 3, that he is proclaiming himself as the king of the Jewish nation. All three are bald-faced lies. The charges are propagandized untruths, inventions of the moment, formulated so as to force the Roman governor, Pilate, into a hearing, a pretrial arraignment. It's a deep threat to Pilate's rule if he is perceived as having allowed a Jewish king to arise in Caesar's kingdom. Now, Pilate might have questioned Jesus from his judgment seat outside the praetorium, but this would have left the prisoner in the hands of the Jewish police force, and at a time too close to Passover to allow a fair hearing. Therefore, Pilate goes inside, and by this movement has the prisoner turned over to him for a private interview outside of the manipulating and meddling ears of his accusers. The only thing that concerns Pilate is the question of Jesus' alleged claim to be a king of the Jews. Pilate's prosecution depends on Jesus admitting that he's a king. If he does, then he will go the way of rival kings to the Caesars. Down. Pilate asks, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus, a great rabbi, answers the question with a question that puts Pilate on the spot. If he answers wrong, he will show himself to be against Caesar, or he will show himself to be the powerless puppet of the Jewish leadership that wants to kill Jesus. Jesus questions Pilate, "Do you seriously believe this king stuff about me? If you do, you're toast. Or do you just believe everything that everybody tells you? If you do, you're a puppet." Pilate's forced into a confession. "I'm not a Jew. I worship Caesar, don't I? What did you do to upset them?" Jesus plays it tough. He's going to twist Pilate into knots here. This is a trial of the millennia. A lot rides on who confesses what. A smart lawyer would advise Jesus at this point to not bring up anything related to kingdoms, okay? The whole deal might go away as a mistrial for lack of evidence. Jesus is off the hook, but most importantly, Pilate is off the hook. Now, Jesus counterintuitively messes up that whole legal strategy by making a direct statement that could be interpreted by Pilate as self-incriminating. "My kingdom is not of this world. If it were, you and my accusers would be on your way out the door. Compliments of my soldiers." Pilate takes the bait. "So, you are a king." Jesus is like, "Thank you for noticing. You just confessed me as your king instead of Caesar." The kingship that Pilate affirms ironically is a fact. Jesus is the king of truth. He is the king of reality. He is the king of not forgetting, in Greek aletheia, not forgetting, remembering. All these things mean essentially the same thing. Jesus is here to bear witness to remembering and pointing to reality, daily reality and ultimate reality. He is tried and true. King for a day may indulge mistakes and grant favors, but king for eternity forgives sins. Earthly kings may give you pleasure. Christ the King gives meaning. A king for a day may guarantee success, but the king for eternity redeems failure. A king for a day may promise deliverance from death. Christ the King gives deliverance through death. Christ, the King of eternity, our King before life, during life, and after life. He is the eternal King and power in all times and in all places. Amen.